James sits on the floor of his apartment, 2 in the morning, back against the wall, an eviction notice crumpled in his hand. The only light in the room comes from his phone screen, glowing against his face. Sometimes the worst night of your life isn't the night everything falls apart. It's the night you finally stop pretending it hasn't already. Now picture this. 2 years later, James stands on a small stage, calm, steady, telling a room full of strangers this exact story. How does a man go from the floor of his apartment to that stage? It's not the story you'd expect. This is the night that broke him, and somehow built him. A year before that night, James had it together. At least that's what everyone believed. He'd built a small marketing agency from nothing, the kind of guy friends called when they needed advice on their own lives. Confident, ambitious, always one step ahead. But the cracks had already started, quiet ones nobody could see. Late nights working alone in an empty office, calls with his fiancée, Anna, that went unanswered and then unreturned, a pile of business debt growing in the dark, one he told absolutely no one about. His father, also a small business owner, had drilled one thing into him as a boy. Men don't talk about struggling, they just fix it quietly. James carried that line like scripture, never once questioning it. Then the losses came, one after another. His biggest client left, then a second one followed. Anna sat him down one evening and ended his engagement gently, saying the words that would echo in his head for months. "I don't even know who you are anymore." Within months, the agency folded completely. James packed up a small studio apartment alone, telling everyone, parents, friends, anyone who asked, that he was simply taking a break to regroup. He kept the performance running, posted confident updates online about new beginnings and fresh starts, told his parents everything was fine, smiled through every single conversation like a man with nothing to hide. Behind closed doors, it was different. He stopped answering messages, stopped eating regularly, spent entire days in bed, scrolling through nothing, telling himself he just needed one good night's sleep to fix it all. One afternoon, he ran into an old client at a coffee shop. The man asked how the agency was doing. James lied smoothly, easily, the words coming out automatic and rehearsed. He got in his car afterward and couldn't stop his hands from shaking. Then the eviction notice arrived. He stared at the envelope for a long time before finally opening it, already knowing exactly what it would say. That night, alone on the floor, the performance he'd carried for over a year finally cracked completely. And it wasn't about the apartment or the business, not even about Anna. It was the sheer, exhausting weight of pretending for so long that finally broke him open. At his absolute lowest point, phone still in his hand, James didn't call a friend, didn't call family. Almost without deciding to, he opened a messaging app and typed into an anonymous crisis text line, something he never imagined himself doing. On the other end, a calm voice didn't rush to fix anything, didn't offer solutions, just asked simple, steady questions, giving James room to say things out loud he'd never said to a single soul. For the first time in over a year, he typed the truth plainly. "I think I've been pretending to be okay for so long, I don't actually know what's true anymore."
The response came back simple, but it landed somewhere deep. "It sounds like you've been carrying this entirely alone. That's not strength. That's just isolation wearing strength's clothes." James read it twice. Something in him went still. The version of strength his father had taught him wasn't strength at all. It was just silence, dressed up to look respectable. Nothing was solved that night. No business plan appeared, no relationship was fixed. But for the first time in months, James felt something other than numb, a small flicker of being seen. The conversation ended eventually, and James sat on that floor a while longer, still broken, still uncertain, but for the first time, not entirely alone with it. Quietly, he decided that tomorrow he would call his brother. He kept that promise. The next day, when his brother picked up, James said 4 words he'd never said out loud before. "I'm not okay." From there, small things followed. He started seeing a therapist regularly, told his parents the truth about the business, no more soft edges around the failure. Slowly, basic routines came back, actual sleep, actual meals, short walks just to feel the air on his face. An old friend asked one day how he was really doing. James paused, dropped the rehearsed staying busy, doing great, and said instead, "Honestly, it's been the hardest year of my life." His friend didn't pull away. He leaned in closer. James took a part-time job, nothing glamorous, just steady, while he figured out what rebuilding actually looked like, away from any audience. Months later, Anna reached out, not to reconcile, just to say she was proud of how honest he'd become. And James understood something he hadn't before. The relationship hadn't ended because of who he was. It ended because neither of them had been real with each other in a long time. Slowly, the performance fell away completely, replaced by something steadier. Not happiness exactly, something closer to solid honesty, the kind he'd never once let himself have. Back to that stage, 2 years later, James stands in front of a room of strangers, voice steady, telling this exact story with no performance left in it at all. His darkest night wasn't the moment he broke, it was the first moment he stopped pretending he hadn't already. After the talk, a stranger walks up to him quietly and says, "I needed to hear that tonight." James recognizes the look on the man's face. It's the exact one he used to wear himself. Real strength was never about hiding the struggle. It was about finally being honest enough to let someone help. So ask yourself, what are you still performing your way through alone that you've never said out loud to a single person? If this story meant something to you, hit subscribe. And if you're going through something heavy right now, please don't carry it alone. Reach out to someone, even just one person today.